analysis. So how does the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy work? So it works in a situation whereby we secure, or a property investor secures or buys a property with a plan to substantially change the layout of the property. It could be to increase the number of rooms, do a new bathroom, kitchen, the floor plans changed. And with that, it comes to the advantages of, that's one of my key advantages of actually doing this strategy, because what that does is that when you actually do that, you're able to increase the value of the property in comparison to a neighbor property in terms of like for like. This strategy also, which is a good strategy, and for me, another advantage of actually doing this strategy is that it improves your cash flow. Because at the back end of doing the refurbishment and refinancing your funds, what you also do is you also get a monthly cash flow. And then again, you can increase your property portfolio growth. So those are kind of my three key advantages of actually investing in the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy. A disadvantage, like every strategy, there are advantages and disadvantages. For me, the key disadvantage of this strategy is refurbishment schedule in terms of dealing with the builders. This ideally happens, or it can happen, but it's not just with this strategy. It happens even at home when you call a builder in to do works. They can overrun, but it's just something we need to be aware of in terms of the calculations and making sure the figures work. Again, market changes is another disadvantage, i.e. what's happening in the world today in terms of inflation, interest rates. So you could start a project at the beginning with a certain interest rate in mind, but by the time you're completed, the interest rate has gone up. And in situations like that, that's what we're seeing today. So those are slight examples of disadvantages of doing this strategy. But to me, I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So what I would do is, let's go into, I've done a couple of analyses, and that would also showcase the reason why I invest in the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy. So this is a particular investment. This is a property in the Leicestershire area. And I secured this property as a 4-bedroom family home. It's a 4-bedroom family home, 4-bedroom, 2 reception. So when I secured this property, I had the notion to use the strategy of buy, refurbish, refinance. So what I did was I stripped back on this property to create, like I said before, substantially change the layout of the property, whereby forcing that appreciation or increase in the property value. So what I've done with this particular property, which is a 4-bedroom house, I converted this into a 6-bedroom house. So these are some of the pictures when prior to the refurb, and this is the back end of it. What I wanted to show, let me go back one. In this was the reception room. In this reception room, because of the size, we were able to carve out another extra room and also the play area. That's what I call it in my opinion. This is the kitchen. So what we get now is a kitchen on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, what I did, and this is what I kind of do with most of my properties, I create a bar area as opposed to putting a dining table. What that does is that it creates and frees up space in the kitchen and makes it more airy. So with regards to this particular project, we had a breakfast bar as opposed to a dining table taking up a lot of space. And that's the kitchen area on the right-hand side. Going further along, if you look at it from another angle, that reception room, that is the play area there that we've created out of that large room. And on the right-hand side, there's an extra room there. And further in there is a TV that they actually just sit down. So it's a sit-down area. And that's the layers of one of the bedrooms. Similarly, that's a kitchen from another angle, and that's the bedrooms. So what I've done in this particular project to create that appreciation on the property, I stripped back to wall in terms of doing the full rewiring, electrical works, plastering, carved out the extra rooms, new kitchen, new bathroom, and most of all, or most importantly, what I did was I applied for planning permission to change the use of that property, because I secured it as a single dwelling. In the planning terms, they call that a C3, and I converted that into a C4. which in planning term as well, is whereby you use a small shed. It can be used as a small shared dwelling, using up to 3 to 6 unrelated tenants, whereby they share the same amenities, for example, the kitchen. So all this work was done to create that financial increase on the value of the property. Let's look at the numbers now, which is the interesting bit for me. So when I secured this property, it was purchased at 152,250. As I said before, initially we put a deposit in and the stamp duty. And whilst we were working on this, we also were servicing the mortgage. Refurbishment cost for this particular project was £51,000. And all in all, what we used, or the amount used to actually secure the property, do the refurb work and convert it into what we did at the back end, was 84,213. And the loan during that time was 129,413. So at the end of this, we have the tenants in, and what we then to do is we refinance the property on a commercial valuation. And with that in mind, we came up with a commercial value of £325,000. So if you look at what I said at the beginning as one of the key advantages of working on the BRRR strategy, is you're able to substantially appreciate or increase the value of the property due to the work carried out. So this property was secured for £153,000, and over 6 months' time, it's doubled up to £325,000. So that was the new valuation. And it's a 75 loan to value, whereby you put down a deposit of 25%. And what I got paid was £243,750. Bearing in mind these two figures, the amount into the deal was £84,000. The loan was £129,000. So basically, we have to pay off this from the money paid in. So on the next page, that is the money that was paid to us from the lender. And we're deducting amounts spent for the works. We're also paying off the loan, the initial mortgage, the cost of evaluation. So in a nutshell, what that does is that we've got £243,000. We've paid off all the debt. And at the back end of that, we have a £28,000 extra income to either invest on another property. Hence, one of the key reasons why I like the BRRR strategy is that in situations where you get extra money, you can invest that into the next deal, hence increasing that property portfolio quicker, as opposed to just leaving your money in. And so at the back end of that, we have £28,000 to play with, and more so, we also have a cash flow. So with that in mind, we have a rental income coming in of £2,740. We pay off management, we pay off mortgage, and at the end of every month, we have about £1,000 extra in terms of cash flow. So in summary, for this particular project, what's happened is that we bought a property at £153,000. We've refinanced at £325,000. We've paid off all the outstanding debt. And at the back end, we have money to reinvest into another property, and we also have cash flow. So in a nutshell, all the money invested has been paid off. Literally, people could say, oh, maybe I got the property for free. I know you're still going to pay mortgages, but what you have is that you're still going to have extra cash to invest into another property, or do it as you wish. That's the example there. This is another example. For clarity, this particular property and the other one on the same streets in the same area. And this property I secured as a 3-bedroom house. The initial aim of this particular property was to use it as a buy-to-let. That was the initial strategy with this property. So with this, I'm going to share with you the figures as a buy-to-let and the figures at the back end using the BRRR strategy, which is it is really good when you actually look into it. So bear with me. This is the first data. So having the property as a buy-to-let, I secured the property at £135,000. The deposit of 15%, legal and stamp duty paid. So in this investment, I have spent £26,000 and servicing the mortgage. As it is a buy-to-let, we give it on to the tenants because they would rent it as a single dwelling. and they paid a rental income of £575, less mortgage, less cost. At the end of every month on the BTL, buy to let strategy, I was getting just over £100. And then I thought, why not use the strategy that I proposed, the BRRR strategy? On using the BRRR strategies, the figures will change tremendously. So again, property purchase price is 135. All the figures remain the same. The only difference is that we pay the mortgage whilst the work's being carried out and the refurbishment cost. In total for this particular project, we had a spend of £76,557, and we also had the loan, which is the mortgage at the initial start, where we wanted to use it for a buy-to-let. At the back end, when we rent it out, in terms of the commercial valuation, it comes back out at £311,000. Again, it goes back to my first advantage of why I invest in the BRRR strategy, because what it does is that the property value shoots up, increases drastically compared to a similar property on the same street. Why? Because we use a commercial valuation. Again, this property was purchased for 135 and we've got it out now at 311. Again, using the other figures, this is a 75% loan to value. I now have £233,000 to pay off all the outstanding debt prior to the refurb. Next page, that's the 233 there. Deducting the money in, the loan, cost of valuation. In this particular one, it was an investor funds. So paying investors and other costs. At the back end of that, we have paid everything off and we've come up with an extra 35K. And similarly to the other one, what it means is that you have extra 35K to invest in another property or do as you feel with that money. Again, with this particular property, it's a 5-bedroom HMO and it was given to the students. So with student properties, we don't pay council tax. And with this particular property, I wasn't paying the bills. So the students were paying the bills. So basically what I do is I get the rental income, deduct the cost, and at the back end of that, similarly to the other one, I have just under £1,000 or £1,000 to play with that every month. So again, similarly to the other example, what I did, planning permission, I changed the use from a C3 to a C4. Same thing, stripped back for wiring, electrical works, plastering, new kitchen, bathroom, ensuite. And so it's similar to the other one. And yeah, that's kind of how I work with the BRRR strategy. So in both scenarios here, what you're able to do is you're able to actually go in to a property, secure the property, do all the works, and appreciate your property value, appreciates tremendously in a short amount of time. And how do you do that? By getting a commercial valuation at the back end, where they use rental income as opposed to bricks and mortar. So that's my two analysis there. Obviously, these are just quotes that I do always like to share in terms of when we're working together, as opposed to working alone. If you want to walk alone, you walk fast. But if you want to work together, you want to go far, then we have to work together. And that's why this platform's here, so we can work together, share ideas, and grow together as one. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. So what do I do next? Because what am I going to be doing next? Next month, because today's online event is strictly around the BRRR strategy, project management, and different refurbishment and projects that my colleagues have done. They'll be sharing that with you. So the next month, we are going to be looking strictly at service accommodation. So the online event for July is going to be focused strictly on service accommodation, sometimes called corporate let. After that, we'll be confirming time for the property business training UK. That would be sharing the date for our online training and face-to-face training. And after that, we're going to be looking at the mastermind, where we have our monthly mastermind. And that's kind of what I wanted to share with you this evening. And these are my contact details. I know some of you have got it, but if not, you just contact me and I will be happy to help. Any questions? Okay, let me unmute you. Is that okay? Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
All
awesome.
right. Thank you so much, Kudrat. That's very good and encouraging. Sorry, the first example you gave, you put a cost of 22,000. So I'm trying to understand, how did you get 20,000? Because I tried to quickly do the maths. That's just about 14% of the purchase price.
Because it was initially taken on as a buy-to-let, so it's a 15%. So if you look at the I can share the figures with. Look at the figures. It was an 85% loan to value.
All right. And what sort of mortgage was that? Because oftentimes when you take a buy-to-let mortgage, and if you are trying to refinance it within the, what's it called, fixed term, you have a penalty of 2, 3, 4% that they will charge you.
So with regards to this one, this was initially taken out with Kent Reliance. And the agreement from day dot was that it's going to be used as a buy refurbished property. And so that was in the clause that I took the mortgage out with them. And based on that, I was able to take on an 85% loan to value. Hence, the calculation we were trying to work was a 15% of the total.
All right. Thank you.
That's okay. Any other question? Is everyone okay with that?
Hi, Kudrat. It's Jam here. How do you make sure that you get the planning permission before you commit in to buy a property?
So for every property I purchase, I have more than 2 exit strategies. So obviously I'll have the buy to let, I would have the HMO, and either way, I would have an exit strategy, might turn into a flip. So for me, I would have 3 strategies. More so, when I start the project, I always work with the council. So for example, the 5-bed and the 6-bed, I would contact the council even before I carry work out. So on the 6-bed HMO, for example, one of the rooms was slightly under the requirements square meter. And what I did with that scenario, as I worked with the council, if I had done the work before not getting the council involved, then they probably would have rejected the change of use. And more so, I've had situations whereby when I apply for planning permission and it gets refused, I always appeal. And I've never had a situation whereby I've been refused on appeal. So it's a matter of doing the homework. Again, sometimes what I tend to see is that when, especially in the Article 4 area, when situations like that come along and you apply for a change of use and you get refused, people just walk away. My motto is that I don't walk away, I keep knocking on that door till it gets open. Because before actually applying for it, you would have known that it can work. And if it doesn't, then you have exit strategies. You don't have just the one. So I always work with 2 or 3 exit strategies on any property I purchase.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kudrat.
Okay. Any other question? Are we good? So it looks like everyone's.
Hello. Hello, it's Joyce. Joyce, yeah.
Nice.
All right, thank you. Do you train someone? Can you train someone to be able to do this? Because obviously you will need experience doing it.
Definitely. That's what I said at my last slide. So basically on the 6th of July, we're going to have an online event. At the back end of that day, I will confirm what the business training start. So with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to have special courses for individuals to suit their personal needs. We have many face-to-face meetings. You can contact me after. I'll send you a message just to make sure if that's okay, so we can see how we can help. We always do like to help.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. A quick question from me. How I'm guessing the valuations you had for your other properties, the commercial valuations, right?
That is
how
correct.
do you then ensure? Yes. How do you ensure you get commercial valuation, and which lenders do you tend to go with to get the commercial valuations?
So again, before I actually start out on this, my broker would ensure, wouldn't really ensure, but at least I'm in a good stage of where I can get the mortgage. The process and the project is designed in a situation whereby when the lenders come in to do a commercial valuation, they would see that the property cannot be easily converted into a dwelling. And so that's one of the key things whereby it meets the criteria of a commercial valuation. Again, with a commercial valuation, what we tend to do is that they base it on the rental income as opposed to bricks and mortar. And that's where I said initially that the purpose of a BRRR strategy is for you to bring that uplift and, you know, the substantial increase in the value of that property, and the rental income would also justify that. So there are different ways you can actually meet that. Shawbrook is a very good commercial lender. They have most of my properties, and your broker should be able to help you where possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So is everyone okay with that? I am going to now call on Jazim. Jazim and Austin are going to be talking about their recent projects. They're also on the platform. So again, it's a good idea for us to actually see what other people are doing within the team and see that it is possible to do multiple strategies and how we help one another. So I would pass this over to Jazim.